What's up, Vanda crew? I'm coming at you from inside the Vanda 2. So, I started painting and I finished off the gallon that I was using. It was already opened. I finished it off and I didn't want to open a new gallon of paint because it was already pretty late in the day and I was running out of time. And keeping the paint buckets open, I don't know, the paint seems to get a little wonky after you open it, so it's nice to use it all when it's as fresh as possible. So I decided to leave, and so we are back. I'm gonna be sanding the transom again. Probably won't record any of that. I'm gonna sand and ferret out a little more, just like I do every day, and then I'm gonna jump right back onto painting.
What's up, Vanda crew? We're sailing around the world in a Hinckley Bermuda 40, so you're gonna want to be subscribed.
Before I get started on the painting, I'm gonna come down here in the bilge. I've kind of been working on cleaning all this out. It's nice and dry now, so I'm gonna come down here with like a little broom and a brush and try to sweep and vacuum as much of this stuff out of here before I paint all this area down in here. Here's our transom after the last fairing we completed. We still have some of our low spots visible with the marker. I'm gonna come over this, do a light sanding, and ferret out again before we get started on the painting. This side's looking a lot better now. Yeah, still need to get all these low spots. The transom is now sanded again. I don't think I'm going to ferret out today because I want to get another taping knife. The one I have is a little dirty and messed up, and the fair won't come out as smooth as possible with it being dirty, so I'm going to need to get another one. They're pretty cheap though, so it's not a big deal. But still looking great, almost ready for glass. I finished cleaning out the bilge. All this discoloration is just part of the paint, but I got everything swept and brushed out of here. So it's nice and dry, there's no dust. I'm gonna come down here with the paint now and start painting this last area in the bilge and my lazarettes. I almost forgot about our aft lazarette hatch that we pulled off a while back. Here's our aft lazarette hatch. Before I get too far with painting, I've already kind of painted quite a bit, but before I get any farther, I'm gonna grind all this old paint off the backside and fill these holes where the latches went, or where the hinge went. That way I can paint this too while I'm painting the bilge. And then I'll paint the top side of this when I do the top side of the deck. I just finished grinding the back side of the aft lazarette hatch. Much better. We got all that brittle paint off, the paint that was all falling off and coming apart. There were also some parts of the fiberglass where there were bolts kind of like right here sticking up. So we ground those down a little too. I don't know what those were even connected to. They weren't bolted to anything. I don't know what's going on. This boat seems to have random bolt holes in it all over the place. But we ground those down. We're going to paint right over them. I'm going to go ahead and fill these holes with some epoxy fairing compound now. And then hopefully we can maybe paint this later today before we leave or something. We have filled the holes on our aft lazarette hatch. Use West Systems 404 high density filler with their 2-part epoxy. Now let's paint our bilge area, and by the time we're done with that, we should be able to come out here and paint this. I went ahead and taped all this off too in preparation for painting. Let's get a good look at that. So basically this area that I've taped off, when I do the top side paint, I'll paint this white with the top side as well as this back side white, or this top side white. And everything right here is going to be gray with the epoxy bilge paint. I finished painting for today. I got both the port side and starboard side lazarettes pretty close to finished. They're going to need some touch up and additional layers of paint on the wood. So we're going to be coming back a few times to clean all this up. I did get a lot of this area under the cockpit started. I still need to get lower down there in the farther parts of the bilge, but for the most part we're getting it. And then this area below the cockpit and some touch up. So we're going to be working on this. We're going to be working on this for probably 2 more days until it's totally perfect. But it's looking great.
What's up, Vanda crew? We're back on the Vanda 2 again. Sorry if you can hear all that noise. Someone is sanding. They're working on their boat, so might be a little hard to hear me, but I think it should be good. It's pretty bright out today, nice and warm. Last time we sort of finished painting our lazarettes and the area under the bilge. So today we're going to be going through and finishing all that. I need to touch up some areas that I couldn't reach with the roller. I'm going to double over some areas. And then I also got this bad boy so we can get all the way into the bottom of the bilge. Today's Wednesday. We're going to have a pretty busy week. I did get in contact with a welder, and he was able to fabricate the piece for my centerboard for me with 316 stainless, and he's coming to weld that whole deal into the boat on Saturday. So because that plate that he's welding to the boat is going to cover a portion on the deck, I'd like to get the deck painted before he gets here on Saturday. So my plan is, today is Wednesday, my plan is to finish painting in here, start prepping the deck for paint. Thursday, prep the deck for paint, and then maybe start with primer, and then Friday finish painting, and hopefully it's all good by Saturday. So we can only hope. My plans for prepping the deck are really, I want to take out all my portholes. I've already done a lot of prep, but I want to take out all my portholes, sand a bunch, and get everything sanded and faired out as best I can. For the most part, it's looking pretty good. I have a surface prep that I'm going to scrub all around, so once I sand everything, I'll scrub that, and then we already got all our deck hardware off and everything. We've been working on that for ages, so I think we are pretty close to painting the deck, but that'll be exciting. So we'll paint all that, and then he'll show up and he can install that plate and weld it to the boat. I just finished doing my second coat of paint and touch up in the lazarettes and the bilge area under the cockpit here. I also painted the backside of my aft lazarette hatch. Now I'm going to start working on prepping the deck for some topside paint. So there are just a few areas that I kind of need to touch up with some sanding, and then also maybe fair out with some fairing compound. Once I finish all that, I should be able to just clean the deck with my surface prep. So I'm going to be using Total Boat, Total Boat surface prep and de-waxer. So we're going to see how that works. Supposedly it's like acetone, but it doesn't evaporate as fast. So it makes it real good for using to clean up large areas. While I'm cleaning and prepping the deck for topside paint, I'm also going to be removing this port and filling it with fairing compound, filling the hole with fairing compound. This is an old coax port that you would use for like old school cable or internet. These are pretty much unused these days, so this is basically useless to have on here. So I'm just going to unscrew the whole thing, the whole assembly, and then fill it with fairing compound and paint over it. This is the best time to do this, right before I paint, that way it looks good, nice and smooth.